Now, I made a couple of videos about the modes on piano. You can see the links to those in the box below. Do click subscribe and the alarm bell and it'll alert you of any new videos from my channel. Now today I'm going to talk about the modes on guitar, and I've got a backing track on GarageBand for iOS, and I've made this so that you can hear that it works over many of the chords that are in C major. When I say many, there are always going to be little niggles and notes that don't work so well, but I'll describe those here. Let's have a look. So C major on the guitar, C major scale does this. But on guitar, this note, the first note, that bottom C is quite low in terms of improvising. So what I'm actually going to do is only use the top octave and start from the upper note. So I've got that instead, which means that when I play over my chords, it'll be easier to hear the guitar itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this track back. You can also see this track as a sort of 4 or 5 minute round on my YouTube channel for you to practice against. The link is in the box below along with the other videos. Let's hear the backing track, and I'm just going to play this C major scale. I'm going to play it fairly indiscriminately, just up and down, so that you can hear that it's kind of working. And there are the 7 chords. So we've got C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and a B diminished. Now, that final chord was actually called a B half diminished, or B minor 7 flat 5. Now that's got 4 notes in it. This implies that we could have a 4th note in the other chords as well. Now this is where the harmony gets a bit more complicated, but it kind of explains the modes as well, and it explains those notes that don't work so well. So chord 1, if I go C, E, G, so I'm avoiding, basically I'm missing a note out every time to get the notes of my chord. So C, D, E, F, G. So I've got C major chord, which is built from my C major scale. Now if I go up another note from the G, if I avoid the A and go to the B, so I've got notes 1, 3, 5 and 7 in that scale, and I end up with C major 7. If I go and do this with all of the other chords, I get D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, and B half diminished, or that B minor 7 flat 5. And if I go one more, I get my chord 1 at the end, the same as the first chord. It's a bit harder to play out there. This explains the problems with some of the notes that I played then, because I was kind of just going up and down the scale, and some of them were just grating a little bit. Now, if we look at this as a general rule, any note that is a semitone above any of the notes in the chord is going to give us problems. So, for example, in C, we've got C major 7. It implies that any of these notes are not going to work. But of course, that's a different chord, but 2 of these notes are in the scale of C major, 2 of them. And that includes the C. But if we've got a C major 7 chord, we end up with dissonance between the B and the C. So, just on the C major, I'm going to play that C major scale, but then on the second half, I'm going to play the C major scale minus the 2 notes that are a problem, and you'll hear that instantly it sounds better. So the second half of that just went a bit better. So D minor 7, the next chord. If I go up a semitone from that, I end up with this. None of these notes are in C major, so actually it implies that D minor 7 is a little bit freer. Let's have a little listen to that. That is much better. Although, in a minor chord, and this is unexpected as a problem, actually improvising using the minor third, which is one of the notes in that chord, is not so good. If you were to think about this, the note that is actually a semitone below that tricky note works much better, or indeed the note above it, but not that one. So listening to D minor again, let's just see that. It's okay, but it's just a note that's it's a bit of a wasted note as well, because the F is in that chord. Now, having said these notes are a problem, they're not really a major issue because you can use them as passing notes. And actually, so well, any note is legitimate. I could do this. I could use any note over that. It depends where you start and where you land, and the overall sort of holistic view of what we're doing. I mean, if I want to go from that note to that, I could do this. I could use a note that's not actually in that scale at all. That's kind of experimentation. You just get used to what sounds good between those notes. There's no real hard and fast rule there. Now, the third chord, we've got E minor 7. So, once again, or E minor 7, let's have a look. If I go to the next chord above, that semitone problem, we end up with a C again. I forgot to also mention that the F doesn't work because it's again, I've got the F as well and the C. I forgot about that one to say that, but yes, that's the reason the F doesn't work. So I'm just going to go back to that E minor 7 chord. So actually, over that third chord, the E minor pentatonic works. But actually we've got the problems with an F and C with a few of these chords. So if you were to have a one-size-fits-all for these chords, it would be the E minor pentatonic. So if you've got C major, that is going to work. And there we are. That kind of works. Looking over the F major 7. Now we've got an E here. So I just do this. So actually the only note that's not going to work is the keynote itself. That doesn't make any sense, surely. But if I play an F major 7 and then put the keynote in, we end up with our problem, with our dissonance. So I've got to avoid F on this one. Just the silly faces, just to emphasise that F. Not working. Now the next one I played, there was a bit of blues here. The C is going to be the issue, because in G we've got that problem with the C. There's your riff that's just minus the C. I avoided the C altogether there. Next one, A minor. Now we've got A minor 7 here, which is this one. If I go up a semitone, I've got my F again that's an issue. So with my A minor, it's a natural minor, or the A Aeolian mode. The F is a problem. That's an issue. So it's that F. It's just a bit of a pickle. So the last chord, B half diminished. No problem with any of the notes here at all. Because of the dreamy nature of the chord, and the fact that on its own here, it's not really going anywhere, we can use that C, even though it's one of the notes that doesn't work. It's because it's not major or minor. I know it's B minor 7 flat 5. But it's really one of those chords it has a context in jazz more than being on its own, so perhaps it doesn't really belong on this track. However, it's just a sort of catch-all. Because actually that semitone is actually quite a nice noise in itself. And so there we are. There are all of those chords with the problems that you may encounter along the way. So just that hard and fast rule, any of the chords, C major, if you go up a semitone, any note that appears in the C major scale that is in that chord of a semitone up is not going to work, and there's that F. And that's your problem with the C. So I'm going to play you out with this track, this time with a little bit of phrasing as well. It's not just about the notes. In fact, it's not really about the notes as much as the rhythms and the expression and volume and everything else.